I'm Oliver Wang. I'm a college professor, I'm a music journalist, I'm a DJ and a record collector. What got me interested in collecting records specifically initially began with an interest in samples. Once I realized, oh, this music is made up of other people's music taken from all these different records, I wanted to hear what those records sounded like. I have, a lot of soul, a lot of funk, jazz. I've gotten really into Latin soul and boogaloo music. And then a lot of other, what I call kind of kitchen sink records. Record collecting on one level is about the accumulation of information and knowledge. And previously, most of that was shared, peer-to-peer, individually. But now, what we have seen with blogs and with message boards, and these days via Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, is people being able to disseminate that information in far faster and broader ways. I do think there is a certain kind of melancholy with the idea that these things that were previously more secretive knowledge and that only a handful of people knew, now seemingly everyone knows about. But on the flip side, if that's the price for the fact that we're now able to share information in the way that we weren't before, I think it's worth it. Oh, here we go. Sly, Slick, and Wicked were a group out of the western part of the San Gabriel Valley, which is where we are talking right now. It's where I grew up, and it's where I moved back to after 20 years of being gone. And I'd been looking for this record for a while. About a week after I moved to where we are now, to this house, I saw it listed on eBay, and it had completely flown under people's radar. I managed to get the whole thing for, I don't know, maybe $5 or $10. To me, I read this as a cosmic coincidence, or that it was meant to be, that, a week after I moved back to San Gabriel Valley, I find one of the sort of San Gabriel Valley white whales that I've been searching for years. So this is much more recent, Shorty's Portion. I learned about this because Mayor Hawthorne actually covered a song on here, and in describing how he learned about the song, he mentioned that the person who recorded it grew up in El Sereno. So just because it was so local to where I am, I just was really, really curious about it. Steve Salazar, who is the person behind Shorty's Portion, basically put a garage band in essence together in the 1970s and put this out independently. It's very solipsistic. I like the record partially because it was written, put out by someone who was in his 20s, who lived literally down the street from me. But that is partially what makes it special to me for that reason. Here we go. Rev J, Overnight Low. I like it for a few reasons. One is the song itself, it's a great, funky, soulful groove. It really fits into kind of my sweet spot of what I like to listen to. The fact that it turned up in this random store that we hadn't known about in the Dayton area that sells beepers and chains in the front, and you wouldn't know sold records in the back, that we only had an hour to find stuff, and it happened to turn up in that hour. And I also have a personal connection with it as well, which is that when my parents first moved to the United States, my dad attended college in Dayton. And, this, as his kid, I'm coming back there however many years later, to go record digging for a day. And so whenever I kind of pull this out, that's the sort of the story that I think about. Sugar Billy Gardner's, I got some, a Funk 45 classic. So this is really, really very personal to me because this copy I got from Cool Chris from the Groove Merchant in a trade. And his copy had come to him via Matthew Africa, who was a good friend, an amazing mentor of mine in the Bay Area, who very, very tragically was killed in a car accident a few years ago. And we once did a show together, and it was a fundraiser show. It's a college station, we're raising money. And so usually for the fundraiser shows, you spend a lot of the time mostly just talking rather than playing music. But Matthew had brought a stack of 7-inches with him, including this one, which I'd never seen in the flesh before. I thought, and I'm thinking, you brought I Got Some to a fundraiser show? It just seemed like the proportion of the greatness of the single to the purpose of playing it seemed out of whack to me. But that just seemed to be the kind of person he was. Sure, he's going to bring out like a holy grail to help raise money for the station. For sentimental reasons, this is always going to be incredibly deep in my heart. And on my list of things that I would never sell or trade, this would probably be number one. There would be these kind of like white whale or holy grail pieces that I've been chasing after for years, which once I get, I'll hold it in my hand and then file it. And it may never come out of that sleeve for years to come. So then, therefore, why am I so invested in that physical object itself? I don't necessarily have a great reason, let alone a justification for it, except to say that the physicality of the media, I think, still makes a difference. So in other words, I think collecting records is about collecting the object in a way that transcends simply just the music and really understands that the record is many different things, again, not just music.